Anyway, those are just a few reasons why I think we should have an annual purge night, okay? That's just me. That would work. Oh, we're on? Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to Chat with Chuck, where I'm your host, Chuck. We're here to discuss controversial topics. For example, last week we delved into the hefty topic of Hefty versus Lad. Who's Lad? However, our viewers demanded that we say more, pressing topics. Not that garbage receptacles aren't news, but today we're going to talk about something very different. Emotion versus reasoning. Now, let's look at our book of the week to delve into this topic.
And the book of the week is Lord of the Flies. Now back to Chat with Chuck. Chat with Chuck.
Hello again! Right now I'm seated with Ralph, protagonist from Lord of the Flies. How are you, Ralph?
Well, honestly, I'm a little buggered, but I'll enjoy a short chin wag.
So, Ralph, tell us about yourself. Where are you from?
Well, I'm obviously British, and I just turned 13 years old. Well, I had to grow up when I was left alone with fellow schoolmates on a deserted island. What began as paradise ended up as savagery. Well, I was initially elected as leader of the other boys. We established a system of government where some of the boys built shelters for protection against the elements of the hunted, and some were tasked with keeping the fire going. The fire was lit to signal passing boats that could rescue us.
So, what happened?
We stopped listening to reason. Jack, another boy, created a rival group to the original group. He gathered together many of the older boys. Together, we were a group that lived by no rules and did whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted.
Yeah, so they were beaten by emotions?
Yep, I guess so.
Hey, so thanks for talking to us. You brought up some very good points to add to our reason versus emotion discussion. And now we turn to Julia in the field. Talk to us, Julia.
Hey, so you know that island that the boys were stranded on? I'm there! So I picked up some pebbles from the ground, and now in the book, the character Roger, there's rocks like these are the little boys, known as little ones. But he has been conditioned by society to obey reason and not actually kill the little ones. Later in the story, when savagery overtakes him and the others, Roger is the one to push that giant boulder over that kills Piggy. This shows the conflict between emotions and reasoning. Let his emotions or hatred and bloodlust overcome his sensibility, society-ingrained thinking. Back to you, Chuck!
So yes, as Julia explained, reason and emotion can be in conflict. Here to weigh in is Dr. Ima Expert. So, how are you today, Ima?
I'm alright.
So, Ima, today our topic is reason versus emotion as seen in Lord of the Flies.
That is correct. Let me explain. There's lots of controversy over where reason and emotion belong. It is my understanding that activities of the mind are only tasks that require conscious thinking. This makes me a dualist. Dualists believe reason, along with tasks involving memory and imagination, are a part of the mind because they require conscious thought. Oppositely, emotions like anger, fear, and joy are a part of our body's way of unconscious responding to the environment around us.
Thank you, Ima. Now we're going to turn to a different perspective on emotion and reasoning conflict. We want to see to what extent are reasoning and emotion intertwined, or are they like in Lord of the Flies, polar opposites? Let's welcome Antonio Damasio, author of Descartes' Error and professor of neuroscience at the University of Southern California. How are you, Antonio? Well, thanks for having me on the show. So, Antonio, most people think that human decision-making and rational behavior is inhabited by emotions, but I've heard you have a different take on the matter. Care to explain? Certainly. I came up with the somatic marker hypothesis. It states that rational decisions involving lots of complicated alternatives require input from our emotions. In fact, Our emotions are the backbone of reasoning. The hypothesis, somatic marker hypothesis, is named for the somatic markers in our brain that hold chemical records of our past. These markers are found in our prefrontal cortex. We draw from there both consciously and unconsciously when reasoning through rational decisions. New studies have even shown neural links between pathways for emotion and reason. Therefore, the best decisions do not come from lack of emotion, contrary to popular belief. This does not mean all reasoning is backed by emotion. Decisions about what car to buy can rely on purely statistics and logic. For example, when buying a car, you might look at a mileage, price, size, etc. for different models in essence though emotions and reasoning work together. And how does all this relate to our novel this week? Well, William Golding's novel, Lord of the Flies, uses a lot of symbolism. Different people and groups of people come to represent major themes. For example, Piggy, who knows all about science and innovation, as evidenced by his ability to create fire by focusing a lens, represents reason in society. Jack's wild group of hunters can represent unbridled emotion. When their emotions get the best of them, bad things happen. For instance, the hunters let the signal fire burn out when they let their excitement at killing a pig overwhelm them. But it isn't always black and white. Each character shows both reason and emotion, because as I explained before, reasoning is intertwined with emotion in much of what we do. Thanks, Antonio, for your input. Well, that's all the time we have today. See you next week with Chat with Chuck. Have a good day.
Chat with Chuck.